All right, so this is kind of a little help session how to do the IXL probe algebra 1 L1 solve absolute value equations. So as you can recall, absolute value is the distance away from zero. So I wish I could show you my screen, but I can't, so I'll write up the problems for you. So it's 7 equals the absolute value of negative d. So I'm going to have two answers for this, and most absolute value questions have two answers. So here we go. So the absolute value of negative d, okay, so this is going to have two parts. It's going to be negative 7 equals negative d, and then we have negative 7 equals d. So basically we have two parts. We have the positive part of this and the negative part. So here, this is going to give me 7 equals d, and this is negative 7 equals d. So I have those two answers, so I have 7 and negative 7. All right, and that's a weird problem to start out with, but a good one nonetheless. So now we have this one. I like this problem a little better. We have the absolute value of k plus 1 equals 6. So now we're going to break this apart. So we have k plus 1 equals 6, and we have k plus 1 equals negative 6. So now I have to solve these one-step equations. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 1 from both sides here, and I have k equals 5. I'm going to subtract 1 here, and I also have k equals negative 7. So again, I have two answers, 5 and negative 7. Okay, the next problem I have is 1 equals the absolute value of m plus 4. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for you. 1 equals the absolute value of m plus 4. So I have 1 equals m plus 4, and I have negative 1 equals m plus 4. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 4 from both sides right here. That's going to give me negative 3 equals m. And here, subtract negative 4 away, and I'm going to get negative 5 equals m. So don't fall into the trap of thinking you're always going to have a positive answer and a negative answer. In this case, notice I have two numbers that are both negative. Okay? Now, we're getting into these better problems. Okay? And this one is negative the absolute value of u equals negative 3. Why did I say it's better? Because I'm not just going to break this apart right here just like that. First thing I have to do is I have to get the absolute value alone. So I'm going to divide by negative 1. And then I have the absolute value of u equals 3. So now I have u equals 3, and I have u equals negative 3. So the whole point of this problem is to get the absolute value alone. Okay? So here's an even better example of that. All right? Whether I have to add, subtract, multiply, or divide, I have to get this piece alone first. So it's negative 10 equals negative 5 times the absolute value of r. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to divide by negative 5. And I have 2 equals the absolute value of r. And then I can break this apart, and I have 2 equals r. And negative 2 equals r. And the question actually asked me, how many solutions does it have? And notice I have 2 solutions, okay? So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to move on. Now, do I have to do that from the beginning? No. Absolute value equations can have no solution. All right, it could have 1 solution, or it could have 2 solutions, okay? But you have to know how to solve these so you can determine it when asked. Okay? This one says the absolute value of v plus 7 equals 7. So you can see what happens here. Okay, subtract 7 to get that absolute value alone. I have the absolute value of v equals 0. So I break this apart and I get v equals 0 and v equals negative 0. But 0 is 0 no matter how you divide it up. So I actually only have one answer here. Okay, so now you've seen several different problems. Okay, and I'm just going to see if any of it changes. Now it pretty much stays the same, but I am going to do this one so you can see what two-step absolute value equations look like. Okay. So these two-step ones are the absolute value of 7r minus 5 equals negative 5. So the first step is I have to get this alone, or I have to get rid of this. So I'm going to add 5, and I have the absolute value of 7r equals 0. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to break that apart, and I have 7r equals 0, and I have 7r equals negative 0. Just get in the habit of you're going to have the positive side and the negative side. All right, I'm now going to divide by 7, okay? And if this was something other than a 0, I'd still be doing the process. It would be a positive that number and negative that number. So over here I have r equals 0, and I have r equals 0 as well. Okay, so this one would say, notice I have one solution, it's 0. Okay? All right, if you guys have any questions, let me know.